So on to the main event, and that is going to be Space Amoeba, Amiibo. How do you pronounce
the
it?
Yog monster from space.
Yog monster from space.
So many different names. Well, not so many, but those are the two ones. Space Amoeba, Yog monster from space. The two most known names for this movie.
Yeah, and then also Godzilla, Gaimez, and Kamibis battle giant monsters of the South Seas. I think that is the literal translation. Pretty cool concept for a movie. I don't know if it completely landed, but given the restraints that they had, I can completely understand.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just jump into it. Do you want to start?
You go into it.
All right. So, basic plot of it is we start with this awesome fire sequence of these three monsters looking like they're about to duke it out. And we get this cool intro for each one. And then it cuts to a spaceship leaving Earth. And they're saying that this is going to be like an exploratory ship. It's going to be returning in like 7 years. And they're just going to gather information, come back. It's completely robotic, so there's no people on board. We see this blue thing kind of just go inside and turn it straight around and go back to Earth. Then we start with our protagonist, Taro, and funnily enough, it is the same actor that played the main character in Son of Godzilla, the last movie that we covered.
And he even dresses the same way.
And in that movie, he was a reporter, and in this movie, he's a photojournalist.
Literally could have been the same character. They should have made him the same character, honestly.
They really should have, because they kind of played very similarly, and it looked like this was like a man that's seen some things. He kind of had like kind of about as shaved as I am right now.
He was a little more grizzled looking.
A little more grizzled. And the names of the islands were very similar between the two movies. So I don't know why they didn't. They should have just done it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, cool. That's the island with monsters on it. Like, yeah, he called the other island Monster Island in the last movie.
Yeah. It is kind of so yeah. He's a reporter. He gets approached by a hotel group to go to this island to take pictures to sell the natural ambiance of the island. The whole plan is they're going to build this luxury hotel on this untouched island. There's 80 natives that still live there in a village. They say they want them to catch.
And they're very friendly. It's not like Khan.
They're very friendly. They claim. And they want him to go there, but he's like, I don't really do that. He's I forgot this part. While he's flying back to Tokyo from his previous job, he sees the Helios 7, the shuttle, ship, the shuttle, go past the airplane. He's the only passenger on the airplane that sees it, and he's like, I want to go there. And his boss is like, you're out of your mind. We would have been told if that space shuttle came back. So anyway, he gets approached. He's like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go do this PR thing. He's like, that's my style. I want to go pursue this Helios thing. But then one of his old friends, I forgot, the doctor, comes in and is like, oh, I'm going there. And he's like, oh, if you're going there, we used to work on the same TV show together. The doctor's telling him that he believes that there's giant monsters on the island. But what's kind of odd is if it wasn't for the whole Helios 7 Space Amoeba alien coming down, there wouldn't have been giant monsters on this island. So that doctor was wrong.
So the one thing that I thought, which wasn't very clear in this movie,
but then this isn't dub. I watched the dub, so the translation could be wrong.
So I watched the sub, and the one thing that stood out to me, because I was very confused at that point too, is because the natives, at least in the subbed version, worship these monsters as gods, but more like evil deities that are on the island and torturing them.
Yeah, but they never actually saw them before until now.
It's really weird. And then the way I took it was that they lived near the island and the space amoebas are taking over them.
Well,
They don't really. That's the way they make it sound, but
no.
it's not a very clear plot. I gotta say one thing with this movie is the plot. There's a lot of contradictions and a lot of things don't make sense.
So the way I always assumed, I've seen this movie a couple times, the space amoeba turns just regular animals into these monsters. That's why there's a point one of the monsters gets killed and literally blown into pieces, and then you see the same monster again later on at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It's because they just took over the body of another one. If there's a point earlier on in the movie where they see a turtle, that is assumed to be that turtle is supposed to be Comobius.
Yeah. Comobius, whatever you want to pronounce it as. Yeah, it's. I thought that
was always my interpretation of it.
Yeah, and I understood that this had to be a low budget movie because kaiju movies weren't making money anymore. It's 1970. This movie, from its original script to what it is now, is not the same movie anymore. Super scaled back. The original script
sounded awesome.
They wouldn't even let Ishirō Honda film on the island that he wanted to film on. Like, that's how much scaled back the budget was. I think he wanted to film it in the Philippines. No, he wanted to film it in Guam.
Yes.
And they made him film it near Japan, some other island. It's super weird that, like...
I think it was pretty much they wanted... Because I believe they shot parts of Son of Godzilla in Guam also.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's just one of those things with this movie. I guess we're just going on to a little aside here that, like, even the whole hotel plot line really doesn't make any sense. It gets to the point though, like when they're going to the island, they show this little advertisement board for what the hotel is going to look like. Like there's going to be a boat driving by, and they're going to see a like 2 foot by 3 foot wooden sign staked into a rock. It doesn't make any sense. Who's that sign for?
It really was so weird because they had like all the hotel people had was like these two guys on the island. That's it.
Yeah, you didn't see any construction crew, no architects, nothing.
They didn't show a construction crew. They didn't show the hotel being worked on. They were just two guys, as far as we know, that they show in the movie that were there on the island. And one of those guys gets killed right off the bat by Gezra.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one kind of gets like hunted down by Gezra later on.
Yeah, he goes crazy, and then Gezra just goes and hunts him down.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know what the logic was behind that Gezra was following him.
It was a little weird, though, but it almost did seem like the way it played out that Gezra was following him.
Like,
because he came ashore and was like, boom, that hut right there where that dude is.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole village, and even where his hut was, there was other little buildings, but he was like, that's the one.
Yeah, and the one thing that, again, there's a lot of plot holes in this movie that just really interfere with the storyline is if you want to go with the theory that the reason why Gezra hunted him down was because he was the only other person that witnessed the attack, even though it's not even true, and it would have been better if he just would have been crazy and tried to leave the island. No one would have believed him. But now a bunch of people saw a giant cuttlefish on land kill a man.
But only the one dude saw the cuttlefish. That guy, I believe his name is Rico?
Yeah, Rico.
Yeah. And he goes crazy.
Yeah, he goes crazy.
People go crazy. They get like...
They don't explain why he went crazy. I don't know if it was just shock.
Yeah.
But they don't... At least in the dub, the sub, they really don't explain what happened to him until he kind of snaps out of it. Something to do with light. But they don't explain what the light did.
The light from Gezra's eyes are what freaked him out. Just like it did the other guy. That's why the guy freaked out in the cave when they see Gezra's light under the water.
But then that never got brought up again.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen to anybody else. A lot of things in this movie do not make sense.
Well, yeah.
So one thing when Gezra is destroying this shack is some bats come by and it kind of gets afraid of him. It runs away. And that's how Rico survives this attack, because that was going to be the next witness that was going to get killed. They don't know what happens, but they're like, oh, it looks like there was a giant
hurricane
or something. They do a little bit more investigation and they find the Helios 7 shuttle.
Underwater.
Yeah, underwater. Oh yeah, it's underwater. Landed in the ocean. And
then
that's
Gezra appears underwater as well and attacks two main characters, the doctor and what was the reporter's name?
Taro.
Taro, yes. They attack the doctor and Taro, and at that point the two of them look doomed. But then a squad of dolphins comes swimming by, and Gezra kind of was like, "Nah, I'm done with this." Lets them go, and then they kind of escape to land. But then, shortly after, Gezra comes ashore as well.
Yeah, I guess trying again to take out these witnesses.
It's what it seems like, right?
But they never state that in the movie.
But we also need to remember that all these monsters are being controlled by aliens, so I'm guessing the aliens don't want witnesses. It's part of why they're hunting it down.
Yeah. So one plot line that we kind of very lightly skimmed over is that there is a character called Obata.
Yes. Yeah,
he
I was just going to bring him up.
Pretends to be a geologist? He pretends to be? And is like, oh, I'm going to the island too if you guys could take me with you. Sure. And then the second they're like, you're acting a little weird, he's like, I'm a corporate espionage guy. And he just like leaves.
They literally call him out, and he's like, "Yeah, you're right. Here's the hotel plans." He pulls them out of his coat pocket, throws them on the floor. He's like, "You got me," and just is like, "Peace."
Yeah, he just leaves.
But he's on an island. Like he's got no way to leave though. He just starts wandering the island.
Yeah, that's just important just to set up later on in the movie. But Gezra comes, starts attacking the village. Kind of a cool fight. The destruction of the village is pretty cool, and I think that the Gezra suit's probably the best, movement-wise, the best suit out of the entire movie.
In my opinion, the Gezra scenes are the highlight of the whole movie. In my opinion,
and that is the majority of the movie. I think he's in like the first hour, I want to say, ish of the movie.
Yeah,
and then the other two are like the we half hour of the movie.
Yeah,
so he really is the highlight. But we get this awesome kind of fight scene. He's destroying the city. He's smacking the elder, sending him flying. I thought he killed him for a second, but
I thought he did too. I thought for sure that dude was dead.
Yeah, but then he just popped up later. He was fine.
Like, I'm good, guys.
Because he was like, and then just did like the dying thing that you do in movies. But then he was in like 2 scenes later.
He's really good at playing dead.
Yeah, so they finally realize like, hey, this giant cuttlefish doesn't do good with fire. It's like another thing. It's funny. He accidentally put his tentacle over fire and like moved it away. So as they're fleeing the village and they're getting chased down by Gezra, he's like, I noticed that the cuttlefish got hurt when he got touched by the fire. And it's just like anything else wouldn't get hurt by fire. I mean, this isn't like Godzilla. It's not like a 50-story monster. It's maybe like 30 feet in height. Pretty small compared to your traditional kaiju monster. About the size of a house, let's just say. Maybe a little bit taller.
I would say 2 houses.
2 houses? 2 houses. I'll give you 2 houses. I'll give you 2 houses. Like, so not super giant, but pretty big.
2.5. Final offer.
So the villagers are fleeing this village, and they're like, if we're going to light it on fire, we needed gasoline. We don't have any gasoline on this island. And out of all the resources that the villagers could have taken, like food, fresh water, maybe some tools, they all just decided that they're going to carry gas cans as they're fleeing the village. So all the villagers run up to the main characters and they're like, oh, we brought over like 40 cans of gasoline.
So, to some little pre-context that we missed out, this island was a military station during the World War, so there's still a bunker on the island filled with weapons, ammo, gasoline, which is where they're getting all of it. So it was a military base. It was abandoned, but all the weapons and stuff are still in there. So that's why they have all this gasoline.
But like, if you're fleeing a village, why is everybody grabbing 2 cans of gasoline? It's It doesn't make any sense. You're fleeing a monster. So,
listen, man, gas prices are high.
They are. They are. Those cans are probably worth like $80 each right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're the little tribal village. That each gas can buy them a hut.
Yeah. So they decide what they're going to do is there's like a bit of like I guess you want to call it like a dirt patch, like a marsh or something, and they douse it in gasoline and just throw all the gas cans there. They lure Gezora close and light it on fire. And that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the coolest things. And it was filmed really well.
Yeah, the pyro scenes were great.
My only gripe with it that I thought would have been cooler is if they would have taken the guy out of the suit. Because you don't see Gezora again in this movie, unfortunately. Which doesn't even make any sense.
Yes, because clearly they could bring back the monsters or turn another
get another cuttlefish.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to use the suit again, I understand that it's Toho, it's Tsuburaya, they reuse these things. Well, it's not Tsuburaya, it's Ikefube for this one, because unfortunately Tsuburaya passed 2 days into filming. But
they wanted to actually dedicate the film to him, but he didn't have enough involvement with it that Toho shot it down, which a lot of the crew were pretty salty and annoyed about.
Yeah, but he did get a credit in the movie, but like they wouldn't like do anything else besides that.
Yeah, which I thought is really weird. Like the dude did so much. I mean,
yeah. So I actually mispronounced. It's not Ikefube. I don't know. That's the guy who did the music.
Yeah.
Where is it's Irakawa. That's it. But anyway, I would have thought it would have been cool if they would have taken the guy out of the suit and just light the suit on fire and have wires attached to the arms. I thought that would look so much cooler, but they probably didn't want to trash the suit.
Yeah.
My one gripe with this suit is on the forehead. You can see it in here. Is you can tell like the foam was just folding in. They didn't have like really any support on the inside, or it didn't work. Any support that they did have, so you can tell that like the foam is just folding forward and there's a giant grease in it. But the movement was really good. I mean, for an octopus, they've always had issues with octopuses, and that's one of the things that Toho's always been known for. Is like it's hard to do it, and they do it well. And I thought that this even came out very well, even though it's not an octopus, it's a cuttlefish, but still. Yeah. No, so why don't you continue after Gezora gets burned?
So after Gezora gets burned, the next monster up is Gamnes. It's the giant crab.
So the rock crab.
The rock crab. He gets blown up, basically. Same way, almost. He chases Taro up the cliff. Taro sort of fakes him out, makes him fall off the cliff, and there happens to be just barrels of gasoline just sitting there at the bottom of the cliff.
Yeah, there was zero setup for this scene. Like he saw them at the bottom of the cliff, tricked him to jump off of it, and then shot the gasoline and blew him up.
Yeah, I was like, what? I was like, how did those gas cans get there? And how did they conveniently land where the monster was going? So he blows up Gamnes. Pieces go flying all over the island. And Obato, just wandering the island, comes across one of Gamnes' charred legs.
One thing I want to state about this Obato thing, we saw one of the best yeets in all of movie history. As Gamnes was making his first appearance, he just kind of yeeted Obato off of his boat. But again, he survived too.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he washed up on the shore. Yeah,
which pretty hilarious. But yes, back to Obato just having to be right where the giant explosion was.
Yeah, he just happens to be there right where one of the crab legs lands, and he's just kind of like looking at it. And I guess the blue, sparkly Space Amoeba alien comes out from that part of Gamnes and takes over Obata, and that's where we kind of finally, like, we're like an hour into the movie now. We finally get the whole background on
doing.
what this alien is doing, and their plan is to take over all the humans, all the monsters, and use the animals, turn them into monsters to conquer Earth and make it their own planet.
Yeah.
So now Obata is the first man alien.
Yes.
They kind of almost congratulate him.
Yes.
And at the moment, he has no control of his body, and all the village has retreated into the cave that's sort of adjacent to where the bunker was with all the military. Yeah. So they're in a cave. There's no military weapons in there, but the bunker is kind of like right there, so they have access to it.
Yeah. And then at this point, Taro comes over to Rico and puts a flashlight in his eyes. And no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen yet. Rico's been having this female, I guess it was his girlfriend, taking care of him the entire time.
They call her. I
forgot her name.
In the dub, they call her his lover.
Yeah, no, he says it in the subtitles too. But they're like, oh, they must be lovers. But she just goes, I'm gonna marry Rico. And there's like zero consent or anything. They just go to the village. They're back at the village now.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we're good.
Yeah, they're back at the village. Everything's fine. They blew up the giant crab. Everything's fine. The village elder that we thought got destroyed is there and officiates the marriage. But apparently a giant camera flash sets Rico off, so he just goes bolting.
Yeah.
They track him down, they put the light in his eyes, and he comes back. And one thing I gotta say about that scene is the music for the wedding was really good. So, Ikafube, thumbs up on that one.
Music's always good.
Yeah, it's always good. But that one I was like, oh, this kind of slaps. But they shine the light in his eyes, and then he's like, the last thing I remember was that giant monster, and then the bats came. And it left, and at that point they kind of put two and two together. They're like, the bats are driving it away, the dolphins drove it away.
Because the animals give off sound that are a certain frequency that humans can't hear, but
yeah,
maybe the aliens can.
Yeah, so they're like, these ultrasonic sounds are interfering with the aliens. They can't survive off of them, so we're gonna go searching out bats. So they go to all these different caves, and all these bats are burned alive. So it's like, what's going on? Enter Kamibis. Chases them around for like a little bit, and they're like, oh, it's a giant turtle, we can't set it on fire or blow it up.
It's got a hard shell.
It's got a hard shell. So they finally make their way into a cave, and there's bats. They finally found a cave with bats in it. And they're like, oh, good, we're saved. But they don't really know how to use the bats, besides just, we can stay in this cave and it's going to be safe. So enter Obata. And I don't know how this played out in the dub, but it was really funny because he kind of just like, you can tell it's kind of like Men in Black when the guy was wearing like the human skin suit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, he can tell he doesn't know how to act like a human.
Yeah.
So he's like moving a little weird, and then he's just like, I'm gonna go inside, and he goes inside the cave.
And the doctor's like, you survived.
Yeah.
And you're here, and then he just lays down and goes to sleep.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take a nap.
Like, don't talk to me. That's literally.
I honestly think that.
I laughed at that.
I think the actor who played Obata probably did like the most work.
He did. I think
he did the most character work.
Yeah. Definitely.
He was given what he had, and he just made it work.
Yeah.
So from there, they're kind of just like chilling in the cave for a little bit, and it gets to the point where this is where I'm going to bring up the issue with the plan again, because there's a lot of plot holes with it. Bada gets everybody outside of the cave, finally, fills it with gasoline, and sets it on fire, and he boards up the doors so the bats can't get out. At this point, they realize that something's weird. So they're trying to stop him, and
but he's super strong
yeah,
now.
he's super strong, and like you can tell he's trying to a little bit of a struggle to light the matches. So something's happening there, right? It's not just the aliens completely in control, but he does successfully light this fire, and the aliens are like, he has the strength of 10 men. And then they cut to all the villagers, and there's like 20 men. So I was like, it's just simple math. They could take this guy. But obviously they don't want to do anything. They're super intimidated, so they let him he lights the thing on fire, and the aliens explain the plan to everybody else now, Taro and everybody else. And they're saying, they want to conquer the world, and they don't have any witnesses here, so they're going to get rid of everybody on the island. And to do that, they have to get rid of the bats. But at this point, we don't see it yet, but canonically, there's another Gamnes and another Camebis on the island. Well, there's the original Camebis and another Gamnes on the island, heading towards the villagers. So if there's enough of these amoebas to take over human and 2 giant monsters, why isn't there enough to take over all the other humans on the island?
It's really weird, and like
more than one human.
And like when they show it, like in the ship, this amoeba thing, it's just like looks like the shape of like just like a
blob,
and it's just like it's like a small body though. It's almost like what people might describe a single ghost or something like that. It doesn't look like it's a lot, but somehow it manages to spread out everywhere. It's an amoeba, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things that like maybe a little more exposition would have explained it or something. And I'm sure that there's maybe stuff that got left on the cutting room floor, and they weren't the greatest at preserving deleted scenes or anything back then, so we don't know. But it's just one of those things where it just seems like it was like a bit of a rush job. They had 4 years of prep from when the original draft was written to when they released this movie, and it was a pretty rushed production then that in and of itself. So I don't know exactly what happened within those 3 years of pre-production that this story got really whittled down to this. I understand that there was budget cuts, but it really just didn't make sense.
Well, from what I understand too, the whole time, even during filming, they were being pressured about the budget. Like they were under constant pressure about the budget, even while filming this.
Which is just typical Toho to not let the creators create, and they have to get. I mean, it's like any studio, I guess, but you have the guy who directed the first Godzilla movie, and you have a banger of a script. It might not be the next Godzilla, but it might be pretty big. This might be the movie that brings everybody back to kaiju films. From what I've heard of the original script, it sounded really good, and this is what we got. So it's one of those things that's like a little disappointing. I don't know if maybe it was a little too similar to Destroy All Monsters with the whole alien invasion, worldwide attack, monsters everywhere. But like, don't you think Marvel wants to put out another Avengers movie? You know what I mean? Like, why not do more of that? And it was with all original characters too, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I know another aside, but we're gonna get back to this. There's been a female character that's been in the movie, and she's had very minimal sway on the plot. She's
the one that's working with the hotel, actually. Yeah. She has like zero influence on the plot, honestly. So besides hiring Taro.
Yeah, so she steps up and she's like, "Hey, Obata, I know you're still in there. You're a human, and you're gonna let these aliens take over and destroy the entire world." She's like, I know that you're scum, but you're really gonna let that happen?
Yeah.
So he takes over his body again, takes the little wooden, not even wooden, it's like straw door off the cave, and lets all the bats out. The bats know what to do. They go for the monsters, and you can see the monsters get confused, and enters, unfortunately, I mean, I really wanted to like this movie, and I probably still would watch it again, but probably one of the worst kaiju fights I've seen.
like I always, this was I don't know. After watching it again, I haven't watched it in a couple of years. I was always remember really liking this movie, but yeah, that final battle between Gamnes and Mobius was just not fun to watch.
And it was a lot of shots
Like,
of like I don't know what's
suits-
happening.
Yeah, the two suits like weren't very mobile,
No.
which is part of the problem with this fight.
Yeah.
So there's not you got a turtle fighting a crab.
And it's not like a Gamera. He's on all fours and he
Yes.
can barely move. And it's got this extendable neck. But yeah, they do this. He does this one cool move where he like pokes at Gamnes and then like stands up on all hind legs and like kicks it back. That was the only cool thing in this entire movie.
That was like the highlight of.
But like, I understand that they're supposed to be confused, but like, just make them confused to the point where they're independent kaiju and they're fighting each other now. They don't have any sway from the aliens.
Yes, basically what they say is that the bats have the frequency from the bats has returned the animals back to their primal states, is what the doctor says, which is why they begin fighting each other instead of attacking in unison.
But the problem is that like Kamibis trips like 5 times in the fight and flips itself over.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's not even because it got hit. It's just like it didn't take the right step and fell over.
Yeah, it was a clumsy turtle.
And like, that's definitely, in my opinion, the coolest designed and looking kaiju of the movie. And to see it not really have a awesome role was a little weird to me, to be honest with you.
Guess was my favorite of the movie.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'd say Kamibis is.
Gezra's the best moving. I think that the movement was amazing, but as far as just like looking cool, in my opinion, Kenny's. But like Gezra's like the mascot of this movie.
Yeah.
So like I understand.
All really well designed too, but yeah.
I mean, Gamnes is cool too, but it's just like it's a crab, and we're not going to talk up a crab if we're going to be talking smack about Ebera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I like Ebera. But I know most people don't, and I think that this is. I don't think this is as good as a design as Ebera.
I think he's popular.
Yeah. So here comes like Schrodinger's volcano coming out of nowhere.
I know. All of a sudden, these two monsters, they're just fighting each other, but they're like fighting each other slowly up a erupting volcano the whole time. We're like, all of a sudden, this volcano's erupting, and these two monsters just happen to be pushing each other towards it.
Yeah.
And
they just so Gamnes knocks Kamibis in, but because Kamibis has that retractable neck, extends up, grabs his claw with his mouth. Eventually, after some struggle, which I don't know why this needs to be like a 2-minute scene, they go into the volcano.
And the volcano just explodes.
Volcano explodes. And then they're like, where's Obata? And he just like eats himself to the volcano.
Yeah, he's just walking in there. Yeah, because he still has the alien itself.
Yeah, so he's the last remnants of those aliens.
So he jumps on in there.
Yeah, and then the doctor proclaims those aliens have been destroyed by that lava. Even though I know that they can survive in the vacuum of space, they have been destroyed by that lava. And that's the end of the movie.
It's really that abrupt.
I think it's like an 81 minute runtime. I thought it was 85 minutes. I don't know why I thought it was 85 minutes. But you know.
But what is interesting about this? So you were saying, why couldn't they take over another one? So years and years later, in Godzilla Tokyo SOS, the opening of the movie has a Komobis. So those aliens must have took over one more turtle on that island.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be out there for years. I don't know why nothing else got taken over.
They got messed up by Godzilla.
so they say, he got killed by Godzilla. So they say that, I mean, maybe the alien left the body and the turtle stayed in that giant form.
Maybe.
I don't know. but why did it leave the body?
I mean, now we're just talking about cool references.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to think super deep into it, but like if we want to think about it, like, oh, there must have been another one.
Yeah. Well, they say it takes place in the Godzilla universe, and it's considered part of the Kiryu saga continuity. So,
one thing that, again, we did mention about this fight is there was a second Gamnes, and they did not destroy the Gezora suit like I suggested. So why did we not get Gezora in the final fight? Especially since the way that that's titled, the Japanese title is Gezora, Gamnes, and Kamibis battle giant monsters of the South Seas. Why did we not get a three-way fight? Especially since they teased a three-way fight in a volcanic island at the beginning of the movie.
And even the way the movie's advertised, Gezora's always front and center on the posters.
Yes, always.
Like,
It has the most screen time.
Yeah.
You know, it's again, it's probably budget. Probably they couldn't afford 3 suit actors. Is probably the real. But why not bring back Gezora then? Why Gamnes?
I honestly think that final fight would have been better if Gezora was substituted either of the monsters.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just simping for Kamibis. That's the only reason why I said why not Gamnes. But it's just one of those things. Like I wasn't quite. Don't quite understand some of the creative choices that they made with the plot as to why certain things happened, and I think it definitely showed that there was budget constraints and studio interference in the final product.
Yeah, I think that's what the response is going to be when it comes down to why for a lot of things with this movie.
Yeah,
it's going to be we were getting pressured to constrain the budget.
Yeah, so we couldn't hire a third actor. Unfortunately, a lot of the actors that were in this movie, this was their final movie with Toho under their current contracts.
Yep, it was even Ishirō Honda's last movie under contract with Toho, but he did come back later on to do Terror of Mechagodzilla.
Yeah,
to finish.
5 years later.
Yeah, 5 years later.
So it's like one of those things where it's just like, I feel like they had a good thing going. I feel like there might have been other business choices that they could have done. And even today in modern Toho, there's things that they could be doing that just don't make sense why they're not doing it.
Yeah.
Very archaic in a lot of ways that they're doing things. I think a lot of their current projects are being held back by this individual license per character thing that they've always maintained. I don't understand why they won't just give somebody carte blanche to be like, you are licensing the entire Godzilla franchise. Do with it what you want. Make something cool. Make us a bunch of money.
Yeah. I
don't know why it's like, oh, you want Gigan? It's going to cost you. You want this? That's going to cost you. And they're just like, you know what? We're just going to make our own kaiju. No, we don't need it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I don't have a problem with the original kaiju, but like...
No, neither do I. But it's just like...
Sometimes you want to see these classics.
Would have been cool instead of the I don't even remember the name of the spider kaiju, if we would have got confirmation that it was Kamacuras. Kumonga.
Spiga.
Yeah, if we got Kamacuras and Kumonga
spider
on Skull Island.
On Skull Island. Oh yeah, with the spiky legs, it stabs him through the head.
Like,
yeah.
Wouldn't that have been kind of cool? Like even just a nod.
It was a different spider type
it
of spider.
Was, but
it could have worked though.
It's the MonsterVerse version.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like one of those things where just like, why not just let them do that?
Yeah.
And just be like, oh man, that's really cool. Oh, that was in this movie. Oh, I can see it on here. Let me go get that movie. Like, it's just simple things. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Or just be like, oh, okay, so you're paying. Let's just say right now they're paying $100 million. Just throwing out fake numbers. They're paying $100 million for the Godzilla, just the Godzilla license. Why not be like, okay, give us $250 and you can use what you want, and we get this percentage back for each character that we use. We get a extra whatever percent on ticket prices or whatever they want to work out. I don't understand why they don't do something like that.
I really don't.
Yeah.
All we want to do is see more material.
Yeah.
what I thought was interesting was I can't think of his name right now, but Ice Cube's son, the one from King of the Monsters.
Yes.
King of the Monsters. He's apparently been trying to push a Godzilla anime series. He kind of made a comment once the Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell news broke out yesterday. He's like, oh, they're doing a TV series on this live action, and I've been trying to push an anime for years now with a friend of mine for Godzilla. So that would be a cool project to see too, since we're talking about licensing things. But he's probably in the same boat, dealing with that headache.
Yeah, just the licensing headaches just don't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that we get a Singular Point season 2 because I don't see any reason to not have a Singular Point season 2.
Yeah, no, I think they will because I think it's been really successful. As long as Netflix is on board.
Netflix. Well, Netflix, they take 4 years between everything. So, you know what? It's been about it. Has it been a year yet?
It's been 1 year.
Yeah, so we probably got 3 more to go before we see season 2.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, who does? And does that wrap it up?
I think so. I mean, I mean, like I said, it was really, this watch around was, I don't know. I always looked at this movie as one of my favorite non-Godzilla movies. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but watching it this time around was very different. I don't know if it's because I've been watching so much lately, so many different movies, watching Ultraman. The story was it just didn't do it for me. And it really fell on my list. I love all the monster designs. I always liked Gezra. Gezra always piqued my interest because he was in the Godzilla NES game as one of the bosses.
Yeah. It's a really cool idea. I think all three of them are really cool ideas. Yeah. And I think, like I said, I think there's a lot of good things in this movie that got left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Or just didn't even make it to the cutting room.
Yeah, this is like one of those movies where I'm like, I want to see them remake it. And I think it would be a great remake movie. I think the story could work with the whole hotel thing. But there's gotta be gaps filled in, plot holes fixed.
Can you imagine if the hotel was already there?
Yeah,
it'd be a much different movie. Yes. No, that's very expensive.
Or like the construction was just about done. There was more crew.
More crew.
Two guys in a jeep, and a hut, and 2 huts.
Yeah. A lot of extras.
Well, why did they need to send Taro there to take publicity photos for a hotel
that's not built?
That's not there.
Yeah.
What's going on? So there's so many other things that could get fixed, but I would love to actually see a remake of this.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. So for anybody that is still watching and wants to watch this movie and see what we're talking about, it's a couple ways to watch. I think it's on HBO Max via the Criterion Collection. That's for the US. There is a new Blu-ray release from Japan. I do not believe it includes any English subtitles or dubs. That's another thing I just don't understand. But that's Japan for you.
It's a Japanese release, so they don't want to. I don't know.
Like they don't want people buying their products.
Yeah.
And paying like $60 to have it shipped to the US.
Yeah.
There's companies like Bai. But and then there's other ways to watch the movie as well.
You can get the DVD, but it's just going to cost you.
Yes.
I mean, I got it off deep discount years ago for $10.
Yes. And I went a different route with my Blu-ray.
There's places.
Yeah, there's places. I'm not going to say the places, but there's ways. But yeah.
You know what? If they won't sell it to us, you got to get it somehow. So.
Gotta get it somehow. The second there's an official release, I will buy it.
Yep, 100%. That's how I am too.
Yeah.
If I can't get it legitimately, I'll find a way to get it.
We'll find a way. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Please check out our other episodes. We've mentioned a bunch of other videos that we've made during this episode, and they'll all be linked, or there'll be a card someplace. And thank you guys for watching. Let us know what you think of this movie down below, or any of that awesome Godzilla or Monarch news that we covered.
Later.